right, welcome to this edition of the Balanced CEO podcast. Today we have Erik Zeyher. He's got over 20 years in the fitness industry, owns a great company called Warlock CrossFit, and a podcast, the Freedom Lifestyle Podcast. So excited to have him. Thanks for being here, man.
Chris, thanks for having me on board. It's always fun to connect.
Dude, we have a great time. I think we've been here for at least 30 minutes just bullshitting before we even started. So I know this is going to be good. We're going to get a lot of cool stuff done today. First thing I want to talk about, 20 years in the fitness industry. I know that started somewhere. Give me a little background on the transition into fitness. Was it athletics? Like, I know you played college soccer, but was that kind of the influence into that lifestyle?
Yeah, so I mean, I've pretty much always been active my whole life. Grew up playing soccer, ran track and field, but like sports and movement has always been a really big part of just life in general for me. Once I got done playing college soccer, a buddy of mine was like, hey, there's this free website, they show workouts and we should do them. And I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. We did the first workout and it was hang power cleans with metal plates and 400 meter runs. Ooh. And we had to we actually couldn't do the run we did it on a basketball court. So we worked out in the gym and then ran to the basketball court with 4 or 5 rounds of that. And we did it and I was like, this is it. And then after that, he tried to show me how to snatch. He put 95 pounds in bar. We're going to take this from the ground and throw it overhead. And I was like, I'm going to fucking die. This is a terrible idea. So I basically did CrossFit while I was living in the city at one point and knew that I wanted to get out of nightlife and open up a gym. Because this needs it up here where I lived. I was like, people need help. We can do this better. They can do it better. And this will really help them. So decided to open my own gym after coaching and playing sports and being active pretty much my whole life.
Wow. I mean, I guess it kind of lended itself, right? You were always active, always had a strong inclination for strength and conditioning fitness. CrossFit is very much strength and conditioning based fitness program. So it kind of just lended itself to
I was doing CrossFit for a year while still playing soccer, and my friends were like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I'm just doing this CrossFit thing. They're like, dude, you're fitter, you're faster, you're strong. And I felt the best I'd ever felt. And I played soccer my entire life at this point. The goal was to play D1, and which I did for a short stint. But when I found CrossFit, man, I was fucking way better. I wish I found it sooner.
That's amazing. I don't think people realize how much it can lend itself to sports.
The carryover is crazy, and that's why I feel so passionate about helping adults, but also kids in sports. Man, if I can show exposure to this now at 12, 13, 14, you're going to be way better and way healthier, not only while you're playing sports, but also later in life.
That's awesome, man. So, you've probably had to really figure out the whole balance thing from an early age. Getting into college, going and playing sports, and trying to keep up with your homework and projects. Were you working too, or was it just full-time school and full-time soccer? So
I would make my money DJing events on the weekends, like Sweet 16.
Okay, so you were balancing a lot.
I wouldn't even call it balance. I just ran and from one to the next to the next to the next. It was always busy doing stuff. So balance in that terms of things is as best as you could. But I was always one of those people let's step on the gas. Let's see if we can get the most out of life. We got an opportunity. Let's make the most of it kind of thing. And that just... it's been harder for me as an adult to slow down and find a different balance as that's kind of evolved a little bit. But yeah, I've always kind of had my foot on the gas pedal.
So who influenced that? Was that did you get that work ethic and that drive from your parents, or was there someone in your life that really influenced that for you?
I would definitely say it's from my parents. My mom and my dad both always worked really hard. My mom's rule, and you might enjoy this as a parent, her rule was if you're leaving school at 2:15 on the regular bus, you messed up. You got to stay after. You got to do something. I don't care if it's a club, if it's a sport. Doesn't matter to me. But you're not coming home at 2:30 and doing nothing. So we always played sports growing up. But I was as weird as it sounds, I was in student government. I played chess. I was in chess club. I played sports. So it wasn't just one thing. I just tried to learn and be a part of whatever it was. Because my mom's like, your ass isn't coming home at 2:30 to sit around and do nothing and give me headaches. So.
I like it, man. I'm gonna steal that.
It was a good rule of thumb.
So let's talk a little bit more about Freedom Lifestyle Podcast. I think it's an interesting scenario. So you really believe in the freedom lifestyle based on health, wealth, and leadership.
Yeah.
So talk to me more about that lifestyle. How did you come about it? What kind of fostered this idea, and how do you use that to help other people?
So I was coming back from one of our Tinker meetups where I was sitting on the plane. I was like, man, we have so many cool aspects of what we do, right? And like, I think of the guy who used to do the Dill cartoons, and like, he's not a very good comic, but he's a mediocre comedian. And I was like, man, there's multiple things in the realm of what we do that I think lends really well. And I started traveling a little bit more, doing more of what we wanted to. And you spend enough time in health, and it's kind of like on autopilot, right? Working out, the nutrition, the sleep, the mindset, like those things, you're like, I'm locked in, that's good. And wealth is definitely one of those things where like you continue to kind of grow and explore over time. But leadership has kind of always been there for me. And I sat down on this plane ride back from San Diego and tried to just like hammer through my thoughts for 6 hours without the internet, just going like, man, what are those really important pillars? And after probably about 2 months after that of coming up with all sorts of iterations, I came up with the freedom lifestyle. I think that like people, they can define what health is to them. It can evolve over time, as it does with all of us. Wealth is always going to be a continuous growing path, and leadership. So there are 3 things in life that you can always grow in any one of those aspects. So that's kind of like where that came from.
Okay, I like that, man. So how do you deploy that I know you do some business coaching, you help some business owners, CEOs, executives. How do you deploy that? Like, who benefits from that? What are you hoping to help them do? Are you looking to help them break free from their current lifestyle? Or are you just helping to elevate them? How does that work?
That's a great question. I think that the main part is meeting the person, whoever I'm working with, where they are. Everyone is on a different journey and a different path, and I think that's important for them to understand where they are and define that for them, right? So like health when you're younger, well, I mean, what was health for you when you were younger? Was there
Oreos?
All right, so like, and as you get older, right, and like what you want your kids to see, what does that look like now for you for health?
Oh yeah, I mean it's clean eating. He follows me into the garage and wants to work out. Like he knows that working out's important, even if he works out 5 minutes a day, a couple days a week when he gets a wild hair up his ass. But it's more than I was ever interested in fitness all the way up until I was probably 16.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that like allowing people to understand that and define it for themselves is a really big part of this, because it's always going to be an evolving process, right? And like Glassman always said, meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some for little starch, no sugar. There's not many people that would debate that.
He was the one that said that?
Yeah, that was. I'm pretty sure that was Glassman.
Okay.
That up, yeah. So like in that respect, there's not many people that would disagree with that. Most people know that like eating whole and processed foods are pretty healthy.
Right.
So like, again, the more that we can define what health is for you, and it might be weight loss, it might mean have abs, it might mean run a 5K, it might mean be in a better space mentally. Right? Like it depends on what season you're in. So I think that like meeting the person where they're at in order to help them improve their life is a really big part of that.
So how do you deploy it? How do you, where do you feel like you sit on I know you have a lot of freedom, and I want to kind of dig into
do.
So like, I want you to give some examples of the type of things you're doing that would kind of blow people's minds in terms of like how you express the freedom you've created, and this freedom lifestyle you've created. But more ultimately, like the 3 pillars of the balanced CEO is health and fitness, family, and business.
Yeah.
Right? How are you blending those things and creating this freedom lifestyle?
So I think a lot of this stuff in terms of, I think it's setting up different systems within what you need to do in order to progress, right? So like for me, the gym is like an autopilot. Like I have such a buffer for fitness that like me going to the gym like is not a question. I don't have to like think about it. I show up to the gym 4, 5, 6 days a week and move. Now, as I realize that I need to improve my health for those markers, like mobility is a part of that now. So I might take a little bit off of fitness and spend more time on mobility. It's only so many hours in a day, right? So like finding nutrition for me, it's on autopilot. Like I really don't have to do too much thinking in terms of like clean eating, grocery shopping, like whatever that looks like, getting delivered with Instacart. So again, like I continue to kind of like level up, and because I have systems in place, it allows me to grow in other aspects so I can give new energy to a new system. It's
Okay.
like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So like, because I have those systems on autopilot, I can do really cool shit. And when you have a business that is, I'm removed from at least from a few degrees, I'm able to focus more on leadership. When you focus more on leadership, your team grows. Again, their health improves, my health improves. Because of that, like, I get to do cool shit. Like today, I'm super excited. I just bought season tickets for Inter Miami. I live in fucking New York. Like, let's put this in perspective. Like, did I ever think as a gym owner I would be able to buy season tickets in a city that I don't live in? Like, no.
That's amazing.
So, like, it's cool that I get to experience that. And because there's systems in place for me to focus on the other aspects, those kind of like foundational pieces, I could do some really cool shit. Like, at one point, like, I went away to St. Kitts for a week, and then I turned around and went to Delray for another 2 weeks and enjoyed some downtime. Took my meetings from afar. But again, like, this is, people look at this and like, oh, like, it happened overnight. Like, dude, I've been in this grind for 20 plus years. Like,
Yeah.
and like, well, I graduated college with a 4-year degree. I think it was cum laude or whatever it was, student body president. And then I went and interned for a celebrity DJ. Like, let's put that in perspective. A guy who had a degree to teach, to have a job at $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, turned around and interned. Because I knew that if I put in that sweat equity, man, would I get way more back in life and do what I want to. So like, part of it is a little bit of bucking the system from the start and just believing in yourself, because like that confidence has to be there. And then the other part is just being able to continue to grow.
I love it, man. That makes total sense. I mean, I think anybody that is in that business ownership executive level of life, they're hearing what you're saying and nodding, right? That, you know, you can't live in a system. You have to create your own.
Yeah.
And you have to create your own path. You have to find your own balance that fits your lifestyle, your needs, and ultimately find your own version of freedom. For some people, they love working. They do not want to stop. My wife loves working.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm like, I want to retire in 5 years, at least semi-retire, and like start traveling. We pull the kid out of school and put him in homeschooling and like give him some culture. Like, she loves what she does, and she loves the grind and the repetitiveness of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, for some people, freedom is, I get to work not for money, but because it's something I love to do. For me, I love to do other things. I love to travel. I love to do media. I love to meet new people. I love to golf. So like, for me, being in an office or working every day isn't necessarily my version of freedom. So everybody just has to figure, like you said, everybody's got to figure out what their freedom is.
Well, and I think the hard part is like building the system to get there, because it can be so overwhelming at times. But like, the more that you just focus, and again, I found that the more that I focus on those three things, leadership, wealth building, and health, like, it gives me so many more options to do what I want to do. And it sounds like you're in a pretty similar boat with that, which is kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have a great team behind me, an awesome management team that allows me a lot of flexibility and freedom to come out and do things like this and soak up knowledge and share with other people.
I'm grateful for your team. It was nice getting those like questions beforehand, and like everything, like it works so smoothly. And again, like, you have a system in place for these things so that you can operate and do what you need to do.
Right, I'm floating around doing whatever, and all this shit's flying out, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, like, and again, like, the ability. I think it's also interesting because like, I'm totally cool with working till I'm done, like till I fucking die. The reason why I say this is like, I'm going to just continue to grow and do other stuff, but just at a different level. And I feel like you're at the same thing. We're like, cool, we're in the gym set up. I do real estate, it's growing, it's set up. Now I can grow the brand and the podcast,
right,
and the Balanced CEO. Like, now I can grow this piece, and I'm sure you have a plan to grow it to the next steps.
Right. And yeah, like you said, I don't think I'll ever stop. I might take breaks. I might functionally retire for a few years because I don't have something like that I'm passionate about doing. So I'm not going to waste my time doing something I'm not passionate about. But that's the freedom. That's the freedom of it all, is that you have the freedom to decide, I'm not passionate about this, so I'm not going to do it. And I don't need the money.
No. And again, like, part of the reason why I came up with those three is like, anybody that creates something within a realm, and I think this is important, like, you have to, number one, define it. And two, it has to be created in something unique. And I think like the freedom lifestyle, just like the Balanced CEO, is that like, that's your thing. Like, that's something unique. Yeah. No one else has created that. You own it.
Yeah.
So like, again, as I was flying back, I was like, man, like, how do I brand this thing to actually have an effect on people and fit within what I actually do and believe in?
I think it's important for people to understand when you're doing this, you need to figure out how you can leverage it. And I know leverage is kind of a nasty word to some people, but in this case, leverage just means like you can utilize it in a way that benefits, that you can get the most benefit from it. And it's not just personal benefit, but the benefit goes outward.
Yeah.
It spreads to other people. So how can you create the most benefit? Because when you're creating benefit, the goal is to create benefit for others. If you focus on that, you're going to get what you need out of it. And I think that goes for anything. So like, that's a good point. Like if you have an idea or a product or a media idea or whatever, you need to figure out how you can best leverage it to create the most impact.
And I'm super grateful. Like, one of the biggest things that has helped me with this, and this is for people at home, like when I hired Two Brain as a mentor and a coaching team, like,
shout out Two Brain.
Like, what a fucking difference.
Yeah.
Right? Like, again, like we know what to do, and we like, again, like tend to run in circles, but like every great athlete, every great CEO, everybody that was somebody that is professional at what they do, they have a coach. And like, we're no different. Like, we need coaches to, again, help us, guide us in that direction and to grow. So like, it's a game changer, and that's how we connected. It's a game changer to have those other people around you so that you can get where you need to be.
And I think it's great to have that unemotional bird's eye view where they can see things from the outside from kind of a higher level purview and look at things and go, you're focused too much on something that doesn't matter. This is the actual thing that you should be pressing on.
I mean, think about how many times we dick around with things that we probably should be wasting our time on.
Right.
We know the real thing is to, like, for like the gym industry, call a lead, make the phone call, book the appointment, like do that because it's going to change someone's life and or like make it better for your business.
Like Virtuosity is something I talk about often, and I really impress on my staff.
Okay.
Virtuosity is so goddamn important in the gym industry, right? Yeah. Because you're really competing against other small businesses, or you're competing against companies that are at massive scale, that have built Virtuosity to like the umpteenth level, because these massive companies got to where they are because they do the little things, the basic things extraordinarily well. But now they're at a scale where they have a difficult time controlling that quality. So if you want to compete, you have to be incredible at Virtuosity, because Virtuosity is how you separate from all these other mom and pop shops. The people might go there because they like the owner or they like the coach, but in reality, they want the best service and they want it repeatable. They want to know that they're going to get the same service every single day. That's why people will go back to McDonald's 5,000 times, because they fucked my order up last time, but I know 74 out of 75 times what I order is what I'm going to get, and I know exactly what the service is going to be like. I know exactly what I'm getting every time I go there.
Yeah.
When you go to a small business, a lot of times you go, it's a crapshoot. Like, I might get a good coach, I might get a terrible coach, I might get a coach that's sleepy, I might get a coach that shows up late, I might get a coach that yells, it's in a bad mood. Like, that's a lack of virtuosity, a lack of being able to do the basic things really well.
And I that was a really big driver for me, was that like, I knew that I was making a living doing this stuff, but I wanted more people to be able to do that and to be able to be a professional and like level that piece up. And I knew what I was doing, like it was good, but it wasn't the best. And I was like, no, like we can get better at this thing. So again, like back to Virtuosity, looking at Two Brain, I was like, man, I gotta fucking make this change. So like that's been a massive transition piece, was having a coach. Then you realize like, oh, there's additional coaches that I can keep working with.
Yep.
So like, again, like you keep growing and networking that piece, but like the coaching side of things, whether it's health, wealth, family, like think about like therapists, right? Like it's a coach.
Yeah.
They all make a massive difference in terms of lifestyle.
Every great person I know has multiple coaches. Every average person I know has none. And that's the truth.
I hope somebody I hope you take that clip and you post it up 10 times over, because that is so important. So important. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, because the greatest people I know they invest in things that make money, but the number one thing they put the most money into is investing in themselves, because the ROI is just massive.
And I was super fortunate where like my coaches growing up were world class.
Right.
Like I literally lucked out where like my high school soccer coach national coach of the year. The JV level coach, again, coach with him, national caliber. My youth coach growing up, former semi-pro soccer player. So like I was surrounded by great coaches who gave a shit my entire life. So like as an adult, even like mentors in college, I was lucky enough to be mentored by the president of the college and like the guy who's in charge of PR for the entire college.
Let's get the DJ.
So like even like my cousin, who's my business partner at the gym, like again, brother type relationship, like huge mentoring aspect. So there's just so many people that at least I'm grateful for that have helped me along this journey. So if I can help other people on the way, like that's a huge piece of this.
I agree. I think giving back is one of the most important things you can do. So let's talk about this real quick. You've talked about health, right? Health has been very important to you.
Yeah.
But first, I want to talk about DJing.
The unhealthy part.
Yeah. I want to talk about Erik Floyd. Who's
That's
Erik
fun.
Floyd?
So that was my former DJ and production name. So I started DJing when I was like 15.
Okay.
That's actually when I launched my first business.
So you felt you needed a pseudonym to get in?
Your
fake ID said Erik Floyd?
At first, it was DJ Easy, and then there's like 12 million different
Yeah,
DJ
that seems
Easies.
like a pretty common.
So that didn't fucking work. And then eventually branded Erik Floyd. And after college, I worked for a celebrity DJ. And I was lucky enough to kind of be like pulled into the mix of things. And like he would be out of town and he'd try and get me some gigs and put me on some spots. And before you know it, it's DJing Usher's birthday and the Victoria's Secret After Show and Nas's album release party. And like you just like, this was like page 6 of the New York Post. Like you just couldn't make this shit up. It was like, to me, more an Ashton Kutcher. Like it was such a cool experience. But at the same time, I'm also working in a hospitality group between M Group and Strategic that are world-class in what they do at the highest level. So not only did I get to work in terms of nightlife, but I also get to see the hospitality side of things, which has a huge effect on my business as a gym owner.
Yeah, you got a world-class education.
Yeah, and again,
shit.
yeah, like I literally was a fly on the wall. Like I've seen people spend up to $400,000 in a night on booze, and like you bet your ass, they know everybody that's in that room. They know exactly who wants what. They know where to put the tables. They know what music. Like everything is like it's a choreography. It's unbelievable.
And one thing they never talk about, but I know they take very seriously, is who they put next to who. So whose booth they put next to who.
Yeah.
Because that can really cause problems.
So I ended up DJing, produced a bunch, signed a record deal with Tommy Boy Records at like 25. While I was living in Manhattan, which was kind of cool. They signed like Bob Sinclair, Naughty by Nature. Cool J was all part of that with Tommy Boy Records. So like got to produce and remix a bunch of stuff between like Macklemore, Ryan Lewis, 2 Chainz, like Chris Brown. There was like a bunch of people that I remixed for and released stuff for. And then eventually it got to the point where I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this anymore. I looked around and 2 of my buddies did really, really well with DJing. And I asked him, I was like, hey, like, what's your game plan when you're done? And he's like, well, I think I'm gonna have to like own like a management company and like go back to like DJing weddings. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. And then another one was like, I'm gonna just keep DJing until I'm done. And he's like, he's a legend in the industry. So I was like, I don't really know if this is the path that I want to go down. I'm like, I don't really love the health aspect of it. I really like being fit. And I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, I'm gonna fucking change it. And I literally, like, my lease was up and I was like, fucking, I'm out. So I moved back upstate and was like, I'm gonna do something different. So I like still DJ'd and produced for a little bit while I was upstate, but I knew that I was on borrowed time because you can't live an hour and a half, an hour and 15 minutes away from New York City and expect to still maintain residency in New York City.
Right.
Like all, because you're out, I was out like six nights a week. Plus travel, plus everything else that was going on. But like awesome scene, awesome group of guys. I'm still in contact with a lot of those guys. It was just like a different lifestyle, big time. You can imagine I went from like being, there was like, this is actually a funny story. So I ended up like basically like traveling on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you get back by Sunday, you're wrecked.
Yeah.
You're just destroyed because you're up till 6 a.m. Even when I interned in the city, this is like the grind story. I lived with family in Queens, and I would get up around like 7:30. I would be on the bus at 8:25, take the bus to the 7 in Queens, take the 7 in town in Manhattan, get it off at Times Square or Grand Central. It was Times Square. Go up the 1 to 52nd, and it's like an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm in there, stop at Starbucks real quick, go into the office and studio, work there from like 10:30 till like 6 p.m., stop at 6, get back on the 2, back to Times Square, back to the 7, back to the bus, get home at like 8:30. Would like take a nap, practice some music, organize stuff, get ready for the night, take a shower, drive back to Manhattan from 11 p.m., 11:30 till about, and be there till about 4:30, sleep from 4:30 till about 7:30 a.m., get back on the bus and do it all again.
That's a hustle, man.
Yeah, and like people don't realize, like, I sit here now and get to have this freedom, but like, dude, I put in major fucking work in order to understand and like have that street knowledge, which like I couldn't pay for a job like that.
Right.
Like that street knowledge, like that industry, I was so grateful to learn what I did from those guys.
I feel like everyone that I've talked to has an origin story that involves some sort of insane grind for a period of time that most people wouldn't believe anyone could do, let alone multiple people. But I think that's what teaches us the value of freedom.
100%. Well,
right.
And here's the other part too. Like I value a lot of my freedom. Like my dad, we lived in Poughkeepsie, New York. He would commute from Poughkeepsie to Teterboro Airport. It's about an hour and 20 minutes each way. So I watched my dad travel back and forth for 25 plus years, and I go, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm like, and like he gave up a lot for us. Not that, but like we played sports. I had a brother and a sister, so he would go drive up and then drive us to soccer practice. And by the time we get home, it's 9 o'clock at night. So like, talk about a grind for him. Like I owe him an insane amount between the work ethic and what he taught me. Like, forget it.
I think that's really crucial to kind of point out, is that everyone has an origin story and everyone has influences that showed them what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people that believe they have to grind till they die because they learned from their parents weren't hard workers. And I know a lot of people that had really hardworking parents that said, I don't want that, so I will work hard because it rubbed off on me. But ultimately, I'm doing it for the end goal of flexibility and freedom that they didn't have.
Do you have a hard time? I mean, I know I do. I struggle with this. But like, do you have a hard time like not grinding, like turning off that switch?
You know, I don't have a problem with not grinding. I have a problem with not thinking.
Okay.
I have a problem with turning my brain
The
off.
mental grind.
People are like, "You're going on vacation. Don't think about it." And I'm like, I don't think you understand how this works. Like, I wake up, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Until I go to bed, I'm thinking about it. And a lot of times when I'm sleeping, I'm still thinking about it. I'm waking up in the middle of the night writing notes. I'm like, my brain does not turn off.
Yeah. You live.
I am working 24/7 up here.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not doing anything, it's very rarely I have things that like in my life where I stop thinking about it. And it's weird as it sounds, slot machines is one of the few times where the squirrel takes the wheel and I'm not thinking about anything.
So funny.
And I'm just watching that thing roll. And like, I don't have to think about shit.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm always thinking. I've always been a vision, long-term thinker. So like, I'm always thinking about like 6 months from now, a year from now, where's the curve? Where are we trying to cut the curve? You know? So that's where my brain is. So yeah, I'm not the manual labor, like work till you die type of person. I'm the think until I need to be committed type of person.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a skill set to turn off.
Yeah.
I know, again, like, I was always taught to, like, work really hard. And so, like, pulling myself out of some of this stuff, like, that's the hard part. Like, for me to, like, not step back into the fire and be like, cool, let me throw myself in and do this shit again. Like, that's hard. Because, like, even when you think of new business, we were talking about new business ideas before we turned on. Think about new businesses, new idea. Like, man, how does this fit in? How do I scale it? Does it fit? Does it work? And, like, you run through 16 different iterations and you're like, all right, like, yeah, I'm going to leave it alone, or yeah, let's put it into play without sucking up all your time and all your energy, because you only have so much of that stuff.
Right. Like I wouldn't do this if it wasn't something that I could systemize and do, and then also have the passion for it. Yeah. The passion of giving this information away, knowing that's going to help someone else free themselves from a horrible situation. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
This is going to be the hardest question you've heard all night.
Oh God.
Okay. What's with the pogo stick?
Oh God. So it's funny, as a kid, like we just did stuff outside and just played. So for those of you that don't know, Chris is referencing that one time I jumped on a pogo stick 40,000 times. So I would just like try and play different sorts and sports and just do different things. The funny part about this is that I jumped on this pogo stick so many fucking times. You don't realize it, but the inside of your knee actually like hits against the pogo stick.
Oh.
And when it does it 40,000 times, it leaves a huge bruise. And like I was like 10 years old, 11 years old. Number one, I got off and I couldn't walk because I had jumped on this thing 40,000 times. The other funny part about this is that I had 2 huge bruises. I cried like a little bitch. I'm like, this hurts. It's so bad. My mom's like, why did you do this? I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Like, it was so bad. But yeah, it was just like another thing to just do and just keep going. Like, again, we push the limits. Even as a kid, I just, some people are just built different. For me, it was fucking doing that.
I think it just speaks to your insane level of focus. Like my ADD, I would have gotten to 100 and been like, ooh, look over there, something shiny. And that would have been the end of my pogo stick adventure. So I think it just shows your insane level of focus. And I think that's really awesome.
I appreciate that.
And I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been an amazing episode. As usual, we try to get these around 30 minutes. And, I'm going to sign off with what I do every time. Please understand his balance, my balance, your balance are all different.
Yep.
The goal here is not to mimic someone else. The goal is to find your perfect day, your perfect balance, and ensure that you're giving time to everything in your life that matters. For me, it's my family, it's my health, it's my business. For him, it's travel because he doesn't have kids yet. So it's travel, it's his girlfriend, it's his business, it's DJing under fake names. And apparently buying websites, domains. So
we didn't talk about that one.
Yeah, we did. Well, we're going to do that another day on a different podcast because it is way too. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed this. We hope you got some value out of it. And always keep digging.